Let's get the Republican and Democratic read on this. Noel Nickport joins us, the GOP fundraiser. Kelly Hyman back with us, Democratic strategist. Noel, I mean, Republicans can complain, but it looks like the math favors of this going through. Again, to Chad's point, we don't know what could happen and if there is a serious split with progressives in the House. But I would imagine they will swallow this having gotten most of what they wanted, and Republicans will just have to move on. What do you think?
Well, exactly. You took my talking point. Republicans are just going to have to look to the horizon and move on from it, because I actually think, and Chad brought up a really good point, all these hours, all these hours spent over hashing and getting this thing done, only to go back to the House to where some of the liberals really could feel like some of the key things that they wanted for their base, and they represent that base. They're going to have the task of, do we go ahead and accept this or not? And Pelosi is going to have a big task, because some of these, the AOCs and very, very liberal people in the House, they have staked their name and their reputation on fighting for extremely left issues and causes. So it's going to put them crossways with their actual platform and beliefs.
So, Kelly, how does it play out among Democrats? I mean, sometimes maybe we overstate this friction between progressives and the president, but I would imagine even the most progressive of the progressives don't want to hand a new president a defeat of this magnitude. What do you think?
Well, I think we have to think about the American people first and foremost, and we need to get them help. And so I'm a strong supporter of increasing the minimum wage, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But we need to help people. And so something is better than nothing. So I do believe that if the bill passes in the Senate, it'll go back to the House. And even though the minimum wage is not there, it's still an accomplishment for the American people. And the Democrats want to help the American people and small businesses. So I do believe that they will come together and unite and support it.
This isn't the first time we've seen major legislation, Noel, that has gone down along party lines, whether it was President Trump's tax cuts or back in Barack Obama's days, the Affordable Care Act, with all Democrats voting for that, all Republicans voting for the president's tax cuts, or most of them. So this is another example of that. Now, they're moving on, presumably, from here to infrastructure, the president meeting with a bipartisan group that was open to looking a lot of spending, maybe more than this, substantially more than this. Is that the next battleground, and will that get more Republicans on board?
Well, infrastructure is very interesting. You remember back when Trump was president and Paul Ryan was over everything, and he came out with trying to reconstruct the health care bill instead of what a lot of people thought would have been a great effort to bring bipartisanship together, would be to start on infrastructure. So it'll be interesting to see what will be done on infrastructure, because there are a lot of senators and a lot of House members that would benefit by some of the issues or some of the things that would be in some sort of legislation for infrastructure. So that's going to be a very interesting one to see what happens if they can indeed do some sort of a good bipartisanship with infrastructure.
Kelly, in the end, for Democrats, they obviously need this, to your point, to respond to the needs of the American people. Republicans have come back, as we discussed in the last hour, and said we don't need this to be nearly as generous. But in the end, the Democrats see this as a good beginning. In other words, the president gets his way, gets a monumental piece of legislation through, and has the wind at his back? Or are all these other issues we just mentioned going to come back to haunt him, with progressives coming back and saying, all right, we gave you this, now you give us this?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the progressives, think about the American people. And yes, absolutely wanted the increased minimum wage, but it's about helping the American people and make sure that they're okay. And so I think that will be fine. It'd be nice to work together with our allies, our colleagues on the other aisle, with the Republicans, and work together and have bipartisan legislation to help the American people. I'm optimistic and hopeful that this will happen in the future.
Kelly, final word. Noel, thank you both very, very much. Looking live again on the Senate floor, where this vote could come rather soon. But again, it isn't done. Even after the Senate votes, it gets punted to the House and back and forth, on and on we go. We're on it. More after this.